Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is urging police to, quote, enforce the law on marijuana. He's apparently very frustrated. And he wants the police to enforce the law and criminally charge illegal marijuana dispensaries, even though weed legalization is looming. People are right now breaking the law. That's what Trudeau had told the Toronto Star. We haven't changed the laws. We haven't legalized it yet. Yes, we've got a clear mandate to do that. We've said we will. We've said we're going to do it to protect our kids and to keep the money out of the pockets of the criminals. The spread of storefront dispensaries, lots of Toronto here this year, is clearly a concern to the Prime Minister. And he says it's a situation that is frustrating, and I can understand people's frustration on this. So he's looking for police to really crack down on this. Meanwhile, he campaigned on this platform and said, hey, this is something we're going to do. We're going to legalize this thing. And in the meantime, police, you got to get on this. Like, for me, I kind of look at it at cut and dry. The whole cannabis thing, this whole thing, this is not something I know a whole heck of a lot about. And we're going to have an expert on in just a moment. I'm very excited to speak with her in just a moment. Not something I know too much about. But for me, it just feels like it's cut and dry, where this is something that's illegal right now, so it can't be done. But there are arguments to be made on the other side from a business perspective of going ahead and selling, because you want to corner the market, get ahead of that market, and be that go-to place for your marijuana cannabis needs when the time comes. Like, I get that. I understand that. We're going to ask you if should illegal pot dispensaries be charged, even if it will become legal in 2017? Heck, you want to call now, 416-872-1010. You can text us 71010. Absolutely, get in line. But you'll be at the very least second to get on to talk about it, because we've got a political activist and a public speaker, owner of Cannabis Culture, Jodie Emery, and of course Jodie, husband of Mark Emery, Prince of Pot, and the founder of Cannabis Culture. Jodie joining us on Newstalk. So, Jodie, what's your response to the Prime Minister and his urging police to enforce the law on marijuana?
I'm shocked and extremely disappointed. Trudeau used to say that we needed to decriminalize marijuana because people like his own late brother get arrested and charged, and it costs society and it harms a lot of people. He wasn't even in favor of legalization then. He voted for mandatory minimums. So then he came around to legalize, and we helped promote him. I ran with the Liberals to be a candidate. We got them a lot of votes, and Canadians said resoundingly, we want marijuana to be legal. They don't want it to be legal for stock market companies to make a huge profit. They want it to be legal because they're tired of being arrested and charged, of the tax dollars, the millions, hundreds of millions of tax dollars, persecuting innocent people. This law should be undone because it is unjust. So for Trudeau, who admits to smoking pot himself, to say that the police should enforce all of the laws that stand means that every Canadian is still at risk of being arrested for possession. They still get arrested every single day. They lose their jobs, their kids, their right to travel, their right to volunteer. They're treated like second-class citizens. So when Trudeau says he doesn't want to legalize to satisfy the consumers of cannabis, which make up about many millions of Canadians, who does he want to satisfy? Because right now their messaging is entirely directed towards promoting these licensed producers, in which many ex-police and ex-politicians and ex-prime ministers are investing in and operate. And meanwhile, they want to close the dispensaries, which are responsible for making marijuana laws change in this country through civil disobedience. The only reason laws have changed is because people broke the law, went to court, won, and had the laws changed. That's the only way we've made progress. And for my organization, for 20-plus years of our activism at the forefront of legalization, we will not stop demonstrating what legalization should look like, because this is what Canadians want. Trudeau is turning on everybody on this issue.
So you don't feel that what you're fighting for is upon you, is upon us, that this is something that is going to happen in 2017, that patience should be enforced here? Like, you feel that Trudeau is turning from what he had said prior or previously?
Absolutely. Trudeau said that they would move to decriminalize immediately, and he's reversed that stance. He said in Winnipeg just 2 years ago, or 3 years ago that he supported dispensaries like the one that was operating there, and now he's turned against them. At first, a lot of the talk was about how young people get criminal records. They make up the majority of criminal arrests, by the way, which does far more harm than using marijuana. And these young people get arrested every day across Canada. And he used to say that was wrong and it cost us money and it hurt people. Now he's only talking about protecting the kids and stopping the gangs and restricting access. It's all very prohibitionist talk. In fact, it's fair to say that Prime Minister Trudeau is now being worse than Harper with respect to marijuana because he's telling the police to enforce the law, even though the country has said they want that law to not be enforced. And he's also wasting tax dollars protecting the profits of these licensed producers who have lobbied to control the entire market. They're literally trying to freeze out the people who sacrificed and got arrested and went to jail and built this industry and marched in the streets. We fought for decades. And now they want to keep us criminal, keep the laws the same, enforce the mandatory minimums that Harper's government passed, and that is not the legalization Canadians thought we were going to get when we all supported Trudeau. Well, he's a traitor to us.
Well, I mean, recently, as of Friday, and I mentioned the quote, he said, we haven't legalized it yet. Yes, we got a clear mandate to do that. We've said we will. You don't believe him? Like, he's come out and said that just as of Friday. Like, you don't think he's actually going to do that?
I believe they are already sending messages through the task force report and all of these very strong messages that the recreational market will be restricted and limited to the licensed producers approved by Health Canada. And those licensed producers will send it through the mail. That's the least popular option. That very option has resulted in top courts ordering the government to allow people to grow their own marijuana because mail-order marijuana cannot meet the needs of this country. And the reason dispensaries are opening everywhere is because the public supports them and they do no harm. The marijuana laws that exist are actually manufacturing crime. And when Trudeau says we have to wait and be patient, the only people that are benefiting from that are the police who get millions of dollars to go after people and the gangsters who still run the market that have the small part that they do. But it also hurts the potential for all Canadians to benefit. When he says we won't legalize to create jobs or please the consumer, he's basically saying we'll say no to the model we've seen in Colorado where hundreds of millions of dollars are being raised to build schools and fund really important projects. Jobs are being created, farms are growing, people are going into science and tourism and agriculture and architecture. There's so much potential. So this government, to deny all Canadians that multi-billion-dollar potential, to criminalize the people who built that industry, and to tell them that they're going to remain criminal in the future for years to come, it's just making everyone wait for, well, what sounds like another election, which will promise us another carrot on a stick of maybe one day we can live without being afraid of being arrested. But for now, every day, I wake up afraid for everyone I care for who's peaceful, who is faced with the threat of arrest. Trudeau has declared war on millions of Canadians who use and consume cannabis for personal or health reasons.
All right, Jodie, I want to ask about your dispensary, but in a moment. Stick around. More with Jodie Emery as we continue. In for Jim Richards, I'm Jeff Samet. It's Newstalk. It's 2:16. Let's check Newstalk 1010 time saver traffic.
A very slow drive if you're making your way in towards Durham. Eastbound 401 just past Westney. This ongoing emergency road work is taking out the 3 left lanes. It's only that right lane that's getting by for you, and some cars are actually even using the shoulder. Everything at this point is backed up from before Brock Road into Pickering. It's about a 15-minute delay. Now, northbound on the Don Valley Parkway, haven't spotted any live lane problems, but it looks like the afternoon commute is definitely underway. Delays from before Eglinton clears up for you once you pass about Lawrence. We did have some problems on the go. They were happening in town. All lanes are still closed in northbound on Winston Churchill from the 401 to Steeles. It was from a collision from this morning. It was involving a transport truck. Other collisions to deal with: Pottery Road in Bayview. This one looks to be a serious one. It was a collision involving a bus as well. Finch east of Don Mills. And if you're headed up towards Thornhill, spotting a collision on Bathurst right at Clark. Newstalk 1010 weather tonight, partly cloudy, becoming cloudy in the overnight. We'll head down to a very chilly -1 for tomorrow. About a 60% chance of showers into the late afternoon. It'll be mostly cloudy for the day, and we'll hit a high of 6. Right now, we're sitting at 5 degrees, and it is mainly cloudy. Brave the elements of wild weather and unpredictable exhibition on now at the Ontario Science Centre. I'm Adjoa and Sianyabwa with Toronto's breaking news, traffic, and weather. In-depth radio, Newstalk 1010. Your next update at 2:30.
In for Jim Richards, I'm Jeff Sambit. Newstalk. We continue our visit with a political activist and public speaker, owner of cannabis culture, Jodie Emery. Jodie, thanks for hanging on. Jodie, I want to know more about your dispensary. First off, how long's it been around?
We opened on April 29th in Vancouver, which happened to be the same day Vancouver enforced regulations for dispensaries. And then we came to Toronto for a grand opening of 2 locations here, and that's when Project Claudia happened, the very day before we opened. Now we just had another grand opening of 1 location in Scarborough, 1 location on Lakeshore, another in Liberty Village, plus the ones we have on Queen Street East, Queen Street West, and King Street as well. So we do face a lot of opposition, though. Some locations close. Up on Eglinton, we lost that location. Landlords are being threatened. Police are sending letters. A lot of bullying and intimidation comes along with this. But when you see the lineups of people, the regular citizens of all ages, all races, lined up, so happy to be able to do this openly, to not have to wait on the street for a dealer or call up a friend and get something questionable. They can choose from a bunch of varieties, many of which are tested for molds and pesticides. We take pride in operating a model that's different than what people are used to. Most Canadians think of Amsterdam when they think of legalization. You can be an adult, you can go into a location, and you can access cannabis, and everything's okay. There's no mental illness, there's no crisis, everything is fine. But here, we don't have that. We have a medical dispensary model that basically operated under the protection of court orders, saying that they are the heart of access, and that's why so many open. The cannabis culture with Mark Emery for 20 years of using peaceful civil disobedience, breaking the law to change the law, we decided this year we had to start selling recreationally to all adults, 19 and older, and just treat them like regular adults. And
as a result, have been raided. I mean, Project Claudia, one that have been raided. How many times have you been raided?
Well, King Street got raided, Queen Street West, Queen Street East. We've also had visits at our new Hamilton location and in Port Coquitlam out in British Columbia. So we still continue to open, though we face some opposition. And in more cases now, the police come in. They don't do a full heavy-handed raid because they know that looks bad. And the reason it looks bad is because use of force is being carried out against peaceful people who are doing no harm. So now they go and they threaten landlords. They go to the banks. They do all of these different tactics that we saw in California 10 years ago. Meanwhile, Canadians have said resoundingly they want marijuana to be legal. They want access. They don't want to have to join up for a list and wait for something in the mail. They support dispensaries. So why are we still facing opposition? It's because the licensed producers have made it clear they feel that they're losing sales to dispensaries, and it's because the government is choosing to support the police continuing to enforce the law and carry out billions of dollars in budget expenses.
Jodie,
we don't benefit.
What happens to your employees after a raid?
Our policy is we have a lawyer on retainer and we pay for all legal fees. So as soon as an employee gets arrested, we make sure we get them out on bail. We've got them covered. We take care of them in every which way because these are peaceful, nonviolent people being arrested for a victimless crime. And it's traumatic for some of them. Just the last raid at King Street, the police went out and made jokes about taking them out on the highway and where no one would find them and removing their coverings when they went to the washroom, and very degrading because we're still being treated like second-class citizens, even though we are peaceful, nonviolent citizens who are far more safe to society than all the people who drink alcohol out there. So it's very scary to know that the law that it stands right now is being enforced because the Prime Minister himself said so, and he believes the law needs to be enforced. He should turn himself in for possession and trafficking because he admitted to passing a joint and smoking it as a member of Parliament. If the law must be applied, then it must be applied equally. But right now it targets young people, minorities, and the poor. So this is an unjust war on drugs. That's why Canadians finally decided, stop doing this, make it legal. They didn't want it legal for stock market companies to make a killing growing pot in a restricted market. They want it legal so that their sons and daughters stop getting criminal records that prevent them from going to university just because they got caught with a joint. That's the issue here. We need to stop the arrests. It's a civil liberties issue, but it's also an issue about our money and where it's spent, and we really need to reprioritize our spending. But it looks like those who were in the business of prohibition before are now in the business of running the entire task force and all of this new legalization, which is really just prohibition 2.0 from the sounds of it.
Jodie Emery, political activist, public speaker, owner of Cannabis Culture. Jodie, appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me have this chance.
All right,
Take care.
appreciate it. Thank you. And maybe it'll be a very different conversation if we were to revisit it in 6 months or a year, because it's widely believed in 2017 pot's going to be legal. So should illegal pot dispensaries be charged even if it will become legal in 2017? At least it's widely believed that's going to be the case. It is part of the promise of Trudeau's platform. 416-872-1010. You could text us 71010. We squeeze in one, guys? Just one? Let's squeeze in one, at least for now. Let's get to Jackie joining us. Jackie, what do you think?
Okay, so I was enraged listening to that girl trying to sell her business because until we have the proper model in place for this program, it's illegal. Now, one day, she might be the legal model, but she's not legal now. So she's just jumping on the bandwagon and trying to make a big amount of noise to try and convince pot smokers that the answer is for them to be able to go in anywhere they want and buy pot. But I have kids. I want them to go where it's, if they're going to choose to do this, by the way, I want them to go where it's safe, where it's healthy, where it's like a liquor store or similar. That's how it has to be.
Well, and Jackie, thank you for the phone call, and I think that's what she's trying to do with her business in the promise of something that is clean and unharmful. I think that's what her motive is here, and I think, I mean, if you believe what our Prime Minister had to say, that would be his motive as well. It just hasn't happened yet. We'll take more of your phone calls as we continue. In for Jim Richards, I'm Jeff Sambit. It's Newstalk. In for Jim Richards, I'm Jeff Sambit. It's In Depth Radio, Newstalk 1010. Should illegal pot dispensaries be charged even if it will become legal in 2017? That's going to happen, right? That's going to happen? We continue to discuss 416-872-1010. I give out the numbers, but we've got lots of calls on the line. 71010 is where you can reach us via the text. It's In Depth Radio, Newstalk 1010.
Toronto's breaking news, traffic, and weather continues on the Jim Richards Showgram. Filling in, here's Jeff Sambit.
The Prime Minister himself said so, and he believes the law needs to be enforced. He should turn himself in for possession and trafficking because he admitted to passing a joint and smoking it as a member of Parliament. If the law must be applied, then it must be applied equally. But right now it targets young people, minorities, and the poor. So this is an unjust war on drugs.
Political activist, public speaker, owner of Cannabis Culture, Jodie Emery, joining us earlier on. We're talking about whether or not illegal pot dispensaries should be charged, even if it would become legal in 2017. At least it's widely believed that. At least that was a promise that at some point Trudeau was going to make that happen. But Trudeau is urging police to enforce the law on marijuana. 416-872-1010. You can text us 71010. Lots of calls to get to. First, we're going to go to Dan in Toronto. Dan, you've got a problem with caller Jackie, who said this earlier.
She's just jumping on the bandwagon and trying to make a big amount of noise to try and convince pot smokers that the answer is for them to be able to go in anywhere they want and buy pot. But I have kids. I want them to go where it's, if they're going to choose to do this, by the way, I want them to go where it's safe, where it's healthy, where it's like a liquor store or similar.
That's Jackie calling us earlier. Caller Jackie talking about Jodie Emery. Dan, what are your thoughts on what Jackie had to say about Jodie?
So it's funny because she says she wants a place for her kids to get safe pot if that was to be the case, but that's already happening. It's much better than getting it from the streets. I don't understand what her point in calling was, because that's the whole idea of having these stores open. Mm-hmm. There are people right now who have medical conditions such as glaucoma, anxiety, depression. There's a myriad of conditions that people have. They don't have access to medical marijuana. These places, what they're doing right now is they're starting the pattern. They're setting the pace for the future. Do I think that they should get shut down? Well, currently medical marijuana is illegal, so you do whatever you want with that information. But they're doing a good thing. They're starting the next 10, 15 years of what this country is going to do with medical marijuana. I think they're doing a good job.
Well, I
already.
mean, can't they start doing a good job next year when it's legal, or do they not want to bank on that promise from our prime minister?
Again, it's illegal right now, right?
Yeah.
So, should they be doing it? Of course not. It's against the law. And we all know that members of government, members of parliament, have a tendency to go back on their word. So I don't trust Trudeau's word right now, and I think they should continue what they're doing, and hopefully they can just get licensed soon.
Dan, thank you for the call. I mean, I see it as cut and dry as that, but I'm not a pot user. I don't expect to ever be unless it was medically required. I don't wish that on my kids, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. I haven't smoked anything. I haven't smoked a cigarette. If you can believe that, I've never even smoked a cigarette. I don't want my kids to be doing anything like that just because I haven't. But more so, if there's any kind of an addiction, anything like that, But I mean, if you equate the use of marijuana, weed, pot, what have you, with drinking, if it's the same thing like that, I mean, heck, in a perfect world, I wouldn't want my kid to drink either, but we don't live in a perfect world, and come on, let's face facts, right? Keith is, actually, let's go to Joe in Toronto. Joe, go ahead. Joe, go ahead, pal. All right, Joe, we'll go to Keith, who joins us. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, hi there. First of all, I just want to debunk that there is medical marijuana licenses, and you can legally smoke marijuana. Mm-hmm. So that part does, it's not valid. The second part, to antiquate it to alcohol, you're just doing a big thing on the alcohol, and unfortunately, what's been happening in York Region. We don't have that under control yet. We still don't have alcohol after hundreds and hundreds of years under control. So to simply go forward and say, we're going to throw it in and do as you want, make it the Wild West, open up left, right, and center, we're not going about it the right way if that's what we're going to end up doing. And these dispensaries absolutely should be charged if they are opening up illegal. It doesn't matter whether it's 2017, whether it's January the 1st that they're going to be legal. They're opening up illegally. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line of all of this. And unfortunately, there is a lot of misnomers when it comes to marijuana and when it comes to youth and when it comes to addiction. Being an addiction therapist and counselor, I see it all the time. And to go about it the wrong way is the wrong idea. I'm not against marijuana if it is necessary for individuals, but to put it out there and state, let's have a free-for-all, do as you wish, give everybody their licenses, let them smoke and do what they want with it, is the wrong way to go about it.
Keith, thank you for the call. We go to Anonymous in Toronto. Go ahead, Anonymous.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. I'm a user. I have a prescription, and I go to a dispensary and get it, and they cater to all my needs, what I need, and they're catering to all their customers for what their needs are. I don't think the government's going to be able to do that. Not only that, what was the sense of going to get a medical marijuana license if it's going to become legal anyways? The point that I'm trying to make is that they're catering. I mean, you go to a restaurant, you could order a beer. Now, do I have to always go to the LCBO to get what I need? I don't think so. I could go to a restaurant and get a beer, the same thing that they have at the LCBO, and pay for it. I also got marijuana online from a dispensary, but it's really costly, and you got to wait a long time to get it, and it doesn't get there, and you got to go out to the post office to pick it up. I don't think that's convenient. No,
well, obviously it's not convenient, and that's put out purposely. I think it's going to be a very different conversation in like a year from now. But, for everybody that's up in arms about the PM saying, urging police to enforce the law on marijuana, well, yeah, that might have been something that he used as far as his platform to get elected is concerned. But right now, it is illegal. And it's, for me, at least, it's as cut and dry as that.